So, how does a book become a global phenomenon? Today, we're going to break down Paula Hawkins' The Girl on the Train and figure out just what made it such a massive bestseller. And hey, don't worry, this whole thing is spoiler-free. So, let's dive in.
Okay, so this quote, it absolutely nails it. See, this isn't just a mystery. It's a psychological thriller. And what does that mean? It means the story is built to get right under your skin, to mess with your head, and to keep you guessing from page 1 all the way to the very end. So, how does a story like this even get started? Well, it begins with something really simple, almost mundane, A view from a train. But trust me, that's the hook that pulled in millions and millions of readers.
All right, so let's meet our main character, Rachel Watson. Her life is, well, it's a mess. She's dealing with alcoholism, she's still recovering from a really bad divorce, and everything is just kind of spiraling. Her one little bit of comfort every day is her train commute. Why? Because she gets to watch this couple from her window. And in her head, they had this perfect life, the one she feels like she's lost. She even makes up names for them, creates this whole little story.
And then, everything changes. That quiet little observation of hers, it completely shatters. The woman from that perfect couple, she goes missing. And Rachel, she is convinced she saw something important the night it all went down. But here's the kicker. She was drunk, blackout drunk. She has no idea what was real and what wasn't. All of a sudden, the person who was just watching from the sidelines is now tangled up in a criminal investigation, and she is one very flawed witness. And this, right here, is where we get to the real genius of the novel. See, it's not just about solving the mystery of what happened. It's about trying to figure out who you can even trust to tell you the story in the first place.
I mean, think about it. The story asks this really fascinating question. We're supposed to rely on the narrator to guide us, right? But what happens when your guide is just as lost as you are? What if the very lens you're seeing the world through is totally broken?
And this is the secret weapon the book uses, the unreliable narrator. It's a classic literary device, and it basically means you just can't take their story at face value. With Rachel, her alcoholism creates these literal blackouts, gaps in her memory. And those gaps become huge, gaping holes in the plot for us, the reader. It forces you to question everything she says, and maybe even everything she thinks.
But wait, it gets even better. The author doesn't just stop at one unreliable narrator. Oh no, she triples down. We actually get the story from 3 different women. There's Rachel, our main observer, then there's Megan, the woman who disappears, and finally, there's Anna, the new wife of Rachel's ex. And guess what? They are all hiding something. It creates this incredibly tangled web of secrets that you, the reader, have to try and pick apart.
Okay, so the plot twists and turns are super clever, for sure. But what makes this story stick with people? What makes it feel so real? To get that, we've got to look a little deeper at the powerful themes that are really driving this whole thing.
You see, Rachel's alcoholism, it isn't just some random character trait thrown in there. It's literally the engine of the entire plot. Her lost memories are what create the mystery in the first place. And all that shame and self-hatred she feels, it makes her a really frustrating character to follow sometimes, but it also makes her incredibly human and sympathetic. Her hunt for the truth about the crime is completely tied up with her hunt for the truth about herself.
And this all ties into this big theme of voyeurism, of watching. On one hand, you have Rachel's perception, this perfect, happy couple living a dream life. But that's just an illusion. On the other hand, you have the grim reality the book slowly uncovers, a hidden world of manipulation, control, and what we now call gaslighting. It's such a powerful reminder of how easily we can mistake the surface of things for the truth.
All right, so how on earth did Paula Hawkins make this book so unput-downable? How did she build this thing? Let's take a look at the author's blueprint for creating that nail-biting suspense.
The pacing is just relentless, and it's all in the structure. First off, you've got these short, punchy chapters that almost always end on a cliffhanger. It makes it almost physically impossible to stop reading. Then, you're constantly jumping between the 3 different women and back and forth in time, which keeps you just a little off balance, desperate to piece it all together. And finally, there are all these little clues scattered throughout, so if you're paying attention, you get these little aha moments.
And the writing itself, it's really direct, very simple. This isn't about beautiful, poetic language. It's all about creating a mood. The whole book feels so cinematic, you can practically see it playing out. It gives you this claustrophobic feeling, like you're trapped on a train, trapped in a fuzzy memory, trapped in a bad relationship. And that constant backdrop of rain, the sound of the train, these quiet, empty houses, It all just adds to this incredible sense of unease.
So, we've looked at the plot, the characters, the way it was built, which brings us to the big question. Is this a journey you should get on board with? Is this book your stop?
All right, let's break it down. The strengths? Oh, they're huge. The psychological tension is just fantastic. The characters are flawed, sure, but in a way that feels so incredibly real. And its look at gaslighting is really sharp and honestly pretty unsettling. Plus, it's one of those books you can just fly through in a weekend. Now, for the weaknesses, some of the side characters do feel a little underdeveloped. And, if you read a lot of thrillers, you might just figure out the ending a little early. And yeah, Rachel can be super frustrating to follow, but that's kind of the whole point.
So, when you weigh everything together, where do we land? It's a really strong 4 out of 5, no question. At the end of the day, The Girl on the Train works so well because it's more than just a whodunit. It's really a deep dive into broken people who are trying to piece their lives back together after trauma. It's all about how that trauma can just completely wreck your idea of the truth. So, if you're a fan of those dark, twisty, domestic thrillers that really get in your head, think something like Gone Girl, then yeah, this one is 100% for you.
And so we're left with this one big, lingering question, the same one the book leaves you with long after you've finished it. When it comes to your own past, your own story, can you ever really, truly trust your own memory?